Guys, how are we doing today? So I recently just found out about Paystack's restructuring from having just a regular company to having a holding company with many other subsidiaries under it. And I thought when I was reading through it, there were so many lessons for founders that were jumping up at me. And I thought that it'd be expedient or wise to, make a video about it and about the many, many lessons that founders can learn from it. Especially how Shola, the CEO and co-founder of Paystack, was able to retain shares in the company. The restructuring of Paystack into the holding company, the Stack Group, has been discussed on an operational level mostly, but I haven't really seen anybody talk about it from the legal angle, especially again how Shola, a CEO and co-founder of Paystack, is able to retain shares in Paystack as the company, a subsidiary, and also in the Stack Group, which is now the holding company. But for a bit of background, Paystack was acquired in 2020 by Stripe, one of the largest acquisitions in fintech in Nigeria's history. Now, it was acquired for 200 million, and obviously they underwent some kind of restructuring when that happened. But now Paystack has again restructured into the Stack Group, which is now a holding company. Now they have a litany of other businesses under it. The very important thing here, and the thing that I find the most interesting, is Shala is able to retain shares in Paystack as well as in the Stack Group alongside several other employees. But how is he able to do that? And what are the lessons in how he did it that founders can learn and implement in their own startup journey or in their own company, especially if their company is planning to undergo any kind of restructuring? The legal lesson number one is that an acquisition does not always mean a founder's exit. Because many founders assume that once a company is acquired or merged with another one or undergoes any kind of restructuring, that automatically means their ownership or their stake in that company ends. But this particular case is showing us that that's not entirely true. An acquisition of this scale can be structured in such a way that founders can choose to exit or not exit the company. Founders can upgrade the level and the benefits that the shares they own in the company gives them. And they can also retain ownership in the company both at the operating level, aka with the subsidiaries, and at the holding company level. But this is not an automatic benefit. This has to be negotiated, this has to be organized, and this has to be properly documented from the very beginning. More also, your value add to the company, both as a subsidiary and as a holding company, must be seen. Legal lesson number two. Dilution is about the kind of equity that you own. Right. So when you register a company, you're offered two different kinds of shares, or at least in Nigeria. You have the ordinary shares and you have the preferred shares. Now, the kind of shares that you own, whether ordinary or preferred, gives you certain types of rights and benefits. Do you have voting rights in the company? Do you have any kind of control in that company? When there is a restructure of this kind, when there is any issue like bankruptcy and insolvency or anything like that, are you given priority or preferred treatment, or do you have ordinary shares and will be gotten to last? These are kind of the questions that you have to ask yourself as a founder. And you find that when you retain preferred shares in the company, whether that gives you voting rights, whether that gives you control over the operations and the decisions that the company makes or the trajectory of the company, or some kind of preferred treatment in the company, you find that as a founder, number one, that gives you leverage. Number two, you're able to stay exposed to whether it's new subsidiaries, new markets that you're about to enter. That also gives you the ability to make strategic decisions when it comes to corporate restructuring or any other major decision that the company wants to make or any other major action that it would like to take or is considering taking. The third, and I think a very good lesson, is that holding companies can be a very, very, very strategic and important and necessary tool for separation of powers, separation of control, and used as a major tool for governance of the company. With the Stack Group, the division into a holding company and its various subsidiaries has allowed the company as a whole to separate regulatory requirements between payments and compliance timelines and other compliance dictates and separate their business ventures. It also allows them to limit and contain their liability exposure. But more importantly, with the holding company structure, you're able to have a shared control layer where founders and shareholders and the parent company will easily coexist with. So as you can see, Paystack's growth and restructuring was very, very well executed. So, as a founder, when you're having your shares, or when you're negotiating with investors, or you're negotiating with employees, high value employees, to bring them into the company, the questions you should ask yourself is: number one, will I retain equity that gives me voting rights, control, and preferred treatment in the company? Or will my shares dilute such that I no longer have a say in what the company is doing? Question two, are there any plans for a future restructuring, whether that's a merger and an acquisition, a takeover, a holding company structure like this, or you want an IPO? Are there any plans for restructuring? And yes, if there are plans for restructuring, how should I then factor in decisions, present day decisions about my equity and my ownership or control in the company? The third question as a founder you should ask yourself when considering decisions like this is: where will future products of the company live? By the time you're able to answer that, then you know, okay, if it's going to live here, going to live here, going to live here, you're able to structure your company such that your regulatory compliance dictates are easily met. The fourth and I think final question that founders should ask themselves is: am I exiting the company entirely, or do I want to evolve with the company as a shareholder? With Paystack, you can clearly see that even when a company restructures, its founders can still scale with the company in such a meaningful way, while still maintaining ownership in a business that they helped build from the ground up. And that's it for today, guys. If you found this video helpful, guys, please, please, please hit the like button below so that this video can be shared to as many awesome people like yourselves. And yeah, I will see you in the next one. Bye.